All right, in your notes, I need you guys to label it as trigonometry. Trigonometry. And like I said, this is going to be review today. Maybe not review for some of you. Maybe you've never learned this last year because you were not in the right mindset or whatever reason, but this is supposed to be review. And the first thing that I need to do is remind you about this acronym, SOHCAHTOA. Now, if you do not know how to spell SOHCAHTOA correctly, that is very, very bad. Because if you are not putting the letters in the right order, then none of the ratios will make sense to you, or the ratios won't be correct. SOHCAHTOA. What does the S in SO mean? A sign. And it's always, whenever you are taking the side of something, it is always the sign of an angle. And oftentimes you will see this symbol, it's called theta, the sign of theta. But it really means the sign of X. It's just a fancy variable for the measure of an unknown angle. So the sign of theta is equal to, now the S in SO stands for sign. What does the O in SO mean? Opposite. So, and I'm going to abbreviate OPP divided by HYP, because the H, I'm sorry, I just assumed you knew the H meant hypotenuse.
Whatever that word, I can't say it.
Hypotenuse. The O is opposite. The H is hypotenuse. Cos, C-A-H. What does the C mean?
Cosine.
Cosine. So we have the cosine of theta is equal to adjacent divided by the hypotenuse. The A means adjacent, the H means the hypotenuse, and the C means cosine. Cosine of theta. All right. What about TOA? What does that mean?
Tangent.
Tangent. Yeah. So the T stands for the tangent of theta. Tangent of some unknown angle is equal to, what does the O mean? Opposite. Divided by the A, which means adjacent. So the O is opposite. The A is adjacent. The T stands for the tangent. Is that okay? Does that sound familiar to you guys from years past?
Yes.
Sure.
All right. Can I flip pages? Can I start a new page? Everyone have this down?
Yeah.
All right. What I need you to do in this page is draw yourself a right triangle. Label the right angle as a right angle. And what I would like you to do is label this side as 4 and label this side as 9 and put a theta right there in the corner. Put a theta in the corner.
I can't draw.
Our job in this problem is to figure out the measure of that unknown angle. Can we just do 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus another angle? Why can we not do that?
Because we don't have, we have two missing angles.
Yeah, we have we have two missing angles. The only angle we know is at 90 degrees. So we have too many unknown angles. So our job to figure out what that angle is to decide if the sides that we are given, if they're opposite, if they're adjacent, or they're the hypotenuse. What I'm going to do over here is I'm going to write an O. Why an O? What does O mean?
Opposite.
Opposite. What does the A mean?
Adjacent.
Adjacent, and I'm going to write an H for hypotenuse. Those are my only 3 choices for the sides that we have to work with. So if we're trying to figure out what this angle is right here, we have to decide, is that 4? Is it an O, an A, or an H? An opposite side, an adjacent side, or the hypotenuse?
So it's H.
What is it? Should be opposite. Now, why is it not the hypotenuse? What is the hypotenuse? The hypotenuse is always the longest side. It is also always the side that is directly across from the 90-degree angle. Okay?
Oh, okay.
So this is not the hypotenuse. The 4 over here is opposite. So I'm going to underline the O because I know I have an O.
Oh, I put.
I also have the 9 which is what? We only have two choices left. It's either adjacent or hypotenuse. It's adjacent. So I have the O and the A. Go back to your notes above where you wrote SOHCAHTOA. If you have an O and an A, what do you have? Sine, cosine, or tangent?
Tangent.
You have tangent. So what I'm going to do is this. The tangent of theta is equal to, tangent of theta equals, what is opposite? What side is opposite? 4. What side is adjacent? It is 9. So, we are trying to find the measure of an angle. So the first thing I need to remind you about is when you are trying to find the measure of an angle, there was an extra button you had to press on your calculator. What was that extra button you had to press to figure out the measure of an unknown angle? You had to press second. You had to press second tan. Now the other thing, and Marissa just mentioned this, was you need to right now, all of you need to double check to make sure that your calculator is set to work in degree mode. Degree mode. So you press mode on your calculators, and make sure that you have selected, you have two options, degree or radian. Make sure you have selected degree. And if you are unsure what I am talking about, ask your neighbor. They probably know what's going on there. You have to be in degree mode.
What is radian?
Just use a different one, okay? You have to be in degree mode when you are working with measures of or angles of triangles. Yes.
What radian means?
I'm going to say that one more time.
What radian means?
What would radian be used for? That is an excellent question. We are going to study radians very, very soon. Within the next week or so, we probably will be getting to radians. Okay, so you will know, but I don't want to give you too much information now because I'm going to explain all of that very, very soon. Okay? All right. So, in degree mode, your job is to figure out what is the measure of that angle. So what you need to do is type into your calculator second tan. Press your second button first, then press tan. Then you gotta type in the ratio. Second tan, then you do 4 divided by 9 and you get an answer. Second tan, 4 divided by 9, what do you get?
23.9.
Say it again. 23 point what?
9.
96. 96. Okay, so let's talk about that. 23.96 degrees. I would like your angle measures to be rounded to the nearest tenth place. That means how many numbers after the decimal?
So it's 20.
One number after the decimal. So what I'm going to do is look at that 9. And I have to look at the number right next to it. Because the number right next to it is 5 or more, it makes the 9 a 10. So instead of making the 9 a 10, what I need to do is make this 3.9 a 4.0 instead. So what I would like to see is 24.0 degrees. 24.0 degrees. That is the measure of the unknown angle.
I was working on this set.
All right, the next thing I want you to do, draw yourself another triangle. Remember, you only ever press second sine, second cosine, or second tangent if you are trying to find the measure of an angle. Let's do one more. I'm going to put theta right here. I'm going to put this side is 12, and this side over here is 17. And your job is to figure out the measure of the unknown angle. So again, I'm going to list O, A, and H, and you have to decide which of those two of the three options do you have? Do you have an O, an A, or an H? So this is the angle we want. What is 12 in relationship to that angle? It's adjacent. What does adjacent mean? Right next to. Very nice. You guys, 17 though. 17 is right next to that angle. Why do we not call 17 adjacent?
Because it's the hypotenuse.
Because it's the hypotenuse. The hypotenuse is the all-powerful side. It overrules the adjacent side. So if the hypotenuse is adjacent to the angle you are talking about, you must call it the hypotenuse. You do not call it the adjacent side. Do you understand what I mean by the all-powerful side? Kind of like trumps the adjacent side. All right, so 12 is adjacent, so I'm going to underline the A. What about the 17? What is the 17?
The hypotenuse.
It is the hypotenuse. So we have the A and the H. So we that? What trig ratio is A and H? Cosine. So we do the cosine of theta
Cosine.
is equal to adjacent. What is adjacent? 12. The hypotenuse is 17. So what do you type into your calculator if you are trying to find the measure of an unknown angle?
Second.
You're going to type second cosine. Second cosine. Then you type the ratio in. By the way, let's say that you had this flipped. You had 17 over 12 instead. The calculator gets all confused. Why does the calculator get confused if you have that 12 and 17 typed in backwards? On accident, you typed it in backwards.
Because
Why does the calculator get confused?
the assumptions are bigger numbers, so that has to be the
Excellent. Yes. This is the hypotenuse on the bottom. So if you put the bigger number on the top, the calculator knows you did something wrong. The hypotenuse must be on the bottom because the cosine ratio has the hypotenuse on the bottom. All right, very good. What do you get, guys?
I get 45.1.
Point 1.
10.
Okay, we're going to that to the 1.
It's 0.9 originally, but we 0.9.
Oh, 20 or 45.09?
Yeah.
Okay, 45.1, good. All right, good. So 45.1 degrees, very nice. All right, let me ask you this. Can I flip pages? Are you guys done with this?
Yeah.
You don't need to write anything else down? All right, what if I just give you this? What if I just tell you that the sine of angle A, the sine of angle A is equal to, and I'm totally making this up right now, but let's do 0.8049. What if I tell you that and I say, what's the measure of angle A? What do you do? Yeah. I think this is exactly the same thing as what you were doing on the first two problems, except you had a fraction to type in. Do you have a fraction to type in here?
No.
No, you just have some decimals, but you do it exactly the same way. I think students, when I switch the way it looks, they get all confused and say they don't know how to do it. You know how to do it. Angle A is going to be equal to the inverse sine, second sine, of, instead of a fraction now, you have a decimal value to type in, 0.8049. Got an answer. What do you get? 53.6. That's it?
Yeah.
Rounded correctly and everything else. It's Omar's answer, so make sure you're double checking it.
Because it's 0 after the 6. So
Okay,
You have
53.6 degrees. Okay, good.
just stick on the 6. Keep this up.
Okay, you're going to be asked to do that today. Not a huge deal.
No.
Okay, another example. Draw yourself a triangle.
Okay.
Here's your right angle. Let's say that this is 22 degrees. And let's say that this side over here is 4. And this side, I am making all of this up, you guys. We'll say it's 7. We'll say it's 7. Your job right now, actually no, it's not 7. Cross it off. I'm sorry. We don't know what it is. It's X. Let's call it X. I gave you too much information before because a minute ago the information I gave you would not have forced you to use SOHCAHTOA. You could have used the Pythagorean theorem. So, all right. Let's say first of all you need to figure out this angle. How would you do? Very good. Take 180 degrees, minus 90 degrees, minus 22, and you end up with 68 degrees, right?
Yeah.
All right, so that angle, 68 degrees. When you are using SOHCAHTOA, please use the angle that you were given, if you can. Danny, can you grab the door for me, please? So can you use the 22-degree angle? Then use it, please. Please use this angle because let's say you did something silly. You figured out that it was 78 degrees instead of 68 degrees. Well, everything else you do from here on out is going to be wrong because you used the wrong angle because of your silly mistake. You understand what I'm saying? This is not wrong. This was given to you. All right. We have to figure out everything else that's unknown about this triangle. We don't know this side. I'm going to have you go back and figure out what the hypotenuse is too. But what is that? In relationship to that 22-degree angle, what is this side called? Opposite. Remember we have those 3 choices, O, A, and H? So it's opposite. And then what about this side right here? adjacent. So we have O. We're trying to find A. O and A. What trig ratio are you going to use? Tangent. Go look in your notes. See, the O and the A is tangent. So we do the tangent. Now, this time we have the angle. So we're not going to do second tan. We're just going to do tangent. The tangent of what angle? 22. Tangent of 22 is equal to opposite, which is 4, divided by the adjacent side, which is x. Now, I don't know what you guys have been taught up until now about this, but this is the skinny of a problem like this. If the letter, the variable you are trying to solve for, is on the bottom of a fraction, like this one right here, all you have to do is switch it with the other side of the equal sign. So what I'm going to do is take this entire tangent of 22, and I'm going to put it where the x is. And I'm going to take the x, and I'm going to put it where the tangent of 22 is. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch those. The 4 stays on the top. So we're going to have an x over here is equal to a 4 on the top. And then on the bottom is our tangent of 22. 4 divided by the tangent of 22. By the way, that always works, not just in SOHCAHTOA problems, but it always works.
Yeah, 9.9.
So x ends up being, one more time, 9.9. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Is that the answer you got? You guys agree? Alright, so this ends up being 9.9. It's just for fun, because this is so fun. Let's figure out the hypotenuse now, too. We have to decide, what are we going to use? Are we going to use... Do we use SOHCAHTOA?
Yeah.
Can we use SOHCAHTOA? Yes. Do you have to?
No.
No. No. When you're doing these SOHCAHTOA problems, you only ever have to use SOHCAHTOA one time. Only ever have to use it one time. Okay? If you use it more than once, that's okay, but you don't have to. What can we use now? We're not going to use SOHCAHTOA. What would we use? Pythagorean theorem. Now, my next question to you is, if you're going to use the Pythagorean theorem, are you going to add with the Pythagorean theorem, or are you going to subtract? You're going to add. Very nice. All right, so here we're going to take the square root of 4 squared plus 9.9 squared. Do the math. Get me an answer. By the way, this answer should be what in comparison to the other two sides?
Bigger.
It's got to be larger. And if it's not, you did something wrong. So 4.4 squared plus 9.9 squared. Help me out. What do you get?
10.7.
10.7. So our hypotenuse is 10.7 units.
Yeah.
You're going to be expected to do all of this.
Oh, yeah.
Okay? I want to give you one more example, then I'm done talking. We're going to have plenty of time to work today. Actually. All right, draw yourself one more triangle. Label the 90-degree angle. The hypotenuse is 20.
Triangle.
This angle is, I'm going to say 52 degrees. And that's all I'm going to give you. I want you to find out everything else. We're going to start with finding x, though. Or at least in terms of size. We'll do that one first. Let's first of all find the measure of this angle. And some of you do the math in your head, and that's fantastic. 180 degrees minus 90 degrees minus 52 degrees. What do you get? 38 degrees. So the measure of this angle is 38 degrees. But remember what I said about always going back and using the angle that I gave you? Don't use that 38 degrees. If you did something stupid, you don't want to use the wrong answer to do everything else. All right, so we're going to go back to this 52. What is the x in comparison to the 52 degrees? We have three choices, O, A, or H. Which of the three is it? The opposite. What about the 20? What is the 20? The hypotenuse. So go to your trig ratios. Which of the three trig ratios uses an O and an H?
That would be sine.
Sine. So the sine of what? What angle are we talking about? Sine of 52 is equal to opposite, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 20.
Ooh, I know what to do.
All right, now the x is on the top of the fraction, being divided by 20. How do you get rid of divide by 20? You multiply. Multiply by 20. Multiply this side by 20. The 20s cancel out. But you can't just multiply the right side by 20. You gotta multiply the left side by 20. Please do yourself a favor. Listen to what I have to say right now. Please, please, please. When you are going to take the sine of 52 and multiply it by 20, please put the 20 out front. The only reason I say put it out front is because if you forget to close off your parentheses after the 52, the calculator will take the sine of a 52 times 20 degree angle, a very, very large angle, rather than just finding the sine of 52 and multiplying it by 20. So put the 20 out front, save yourself from having to remember those parentheses. What do you get? What is 20 times the sine of 52? 12.3.
That's not what I got.
I got
15.8.
Oh, I
You
did
guys,
the wrong
it's
one.
Omar's answer, and I always say double check your answers when it comes from Omar. So
Yeah,
I got
15.8.
15.8. Okay, thank you. You get 15.8. So this side right here is 15.8. Your job now is to find one last missing side over here on the right. Can you use SOHCAHTOA if you want to?
Yeah.
Yes. Do you have to?
No.
No. I say don't. What are we going to use? Pythagorean theorem. Will we add or will we subtract with the Pythagorean theorem? We will subtract. So we are going to take the square root of what comes first? 20. Yeah, you type in the 15.8 first. You're going to get a negative, and it's going to tell you error, and then you're going to come to me and say, my calculator's broken. It's not true. You did it wrong. So 20 squared minus 15.8 squared. What do you get?
12.3.
12.3. So we have a 12.3 over here on the side, and we have completely solved the right triangle. Feel good about this? Review, right?
Yes.
It's review.